The email arrived at 2 in the morning. My phone glowed on the nightstand, the notification cutting through the dark. I reached for it more from habit than interest. Sleep had been thin for years. The sender was an address I did not recognize, but the subject line made my chest tighten. "You're in Grandma's movie." I opened it. The message was 3 sentences long, written by someone young, someone careful. "I found you in a documentary my grandma showed me. My mom said you don't exist. Why did she lie?" I sat up. The blue light painted the walls of my apartment. I read the message twice, then looked at the attachment. It was a photograph of a screen taken with a phone. The image showed me 30 years younger, holding a camera, standing beside a woman whose face I had not seen in 2 decades. My daughter. She was 12 in that frame, grinning, her hand on my shoulder. Behind us, the sweep of the Oregon coast. I'd made that documentary about maritime history, and she had come along for a week during summer break. She had carried the boom mic and complained about the wind. The memory was clean and bright and impossibly distant. I set the phone down. My hands were steady. I walked to the window and looked out at the empty street below. Streetlights painted the asphalt orange. A car passed, its engine a low hum that faded into silence. I did not feel anger yet. I felt something colder, more precise. Confirmation. I had suspected for years that my daughter's new life had required my erasure, but suspicion and proof are different animals. One lives in your head. The other sits in your inbox at 2 in the morning and asks you to decide what comes next. I made coffee. The ritual was simple and known. Grind the beans, boil the water, pour slowly. The apartment was small, but it was mine. After the divorce, after the estrangement, I had built a life that required no one. I edited films for corporate clients. I walked in the evenings. I read. I did not speak about my daughter to the few people I still saw. The wound had scarred over, and I had learned to live around it. But now a child, a granddaughter I had never met, had found a thread and pulled. The old fabric was tearing open. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. The documentary she mentioned was one I had made 15 years ago, a short piece about women in fishing communities. My ex-wife had appeared in it briefly, interviewed about her mother's work on the docks. It had aired on a local station and then lived online, mostly forgotten. I searched for it. The video was still there, grainy and earnest. I skipped through it until I found the moment. There I was, visible for perhaps 3 seconds in a behind-the-scenes segment at the end. My daughter stood beside me, younger than I remembered, her face open and unguarded. The shot had been taken by a volunteer crew member. I'd forgotten it existed. I closed the laptop. The coffee had gone cold. I thought about my daughter, about the man she had married 5 years ago. I had not been invited to the wedding. The last time we spoke, she told me she needed space. Space had become silence. Then, silence had become years. I sent cards on her birthday. I sent emails at Christmas. None were answered. I did not push. I believed, perhaps foolishly, that patience was a form of respect. Now I understood that patience could also be complicity. While I had waited, someone had rewritten the story. They had erased me so completely that my own granddaughter had been told I did not exist. I thought about the girl who had sent the email. She had to be at least 10, maybe older, to write with that kind of clarity. She had found the documentary, watched it, asked questions. Her mother had lied. That was the word she used, not made a mistake or forgot. Lied. Children know the weight of that word. They use it carefully. I wondered what else she had been told. I wondered what it cost her to send that message to a stranger. The sky was turning gray when I finally lay back down. I did not sleep. I stared at the ceiling and let the pieces arrange themselves. I'd always been good at structure, at seeing how a story should unfold. This one was clear. My daughter had married someone who wanted a blank slate, no complicated history, no ex-husband filmmaker father with opinions and old footage. Easier to say I was gone, or absent, or worse. Easier to build a new narrative where her life began the day she met him. I understood the impulse. I did not forgive it. By morning, I had decided. I would respond to the girl. I would do it carefully. I would not weaponize her, but I would not abandon her either. She had asked a question. She deserved an answer. What came after would depend on what my daughter chose to do with the truth. I spent the day working. I edited a training video for a tech company, cutting interviews down to their useful cores. The work was mechanical, and I welcomed it. It kept my hands busy while my mind turned over the problem. At noon, I drafted the email. I wrote it 3 times before I found the right tone. Not angry, not pleading, just clear. Thank you for reaching out. Yes, I'm your grandfather. I made films for a long time, and your mom used to help me when she was young. I don't know what you've been told, but I've always cared about her. If you want to know more, I'm happy to answer your questions. If you'd rather not, I understand. Either way, I'm glad you found that documentary. It's a good memory. I sent it before I could second-guess myself. Then I waited. The response came 2 days later. She asked if we could talk on the phone. I said yes. We scheduled a call for the following Sunday at 3. I wrote the time in my calendar and then sat very still, trying to imagine what her voice would sound like. Sunday arrived slowly. I cleaned the apartment. I made sure my phone was charged. At 3 exactly, it rang. I answered. Hello? Hi? Her voice was high and tentative. This is Emma. Hi, Emma. Thank you for calling. There was a pause. I heard her breathing, gathering herself. Why don't I know you? I chose my words carefully. Your mom and I had a disagreement a long time ago. We stopped talking. I tried to stay in touch, but she didn't answer. I didn't want to force anything. She said you left. I didn't leave her. I left her mother, my ex-wife. That was a different thing. But I never wanted to leave your mom. Another pause. Then, quietly, she has pictures all over the house. You're not in any of them. I know. Why would she do that? I think she was trying to make things simpler. Sometimes adults make mistakes when they're trying to protect people. That's not protecting. That's lying. I closed my eyes. You're right. We talked for 20 minutes. She asked about my work. I told her about the films, about the places I'd been. She told me she liked photography, that she wanted to make videos someday. The similarity made my throat tight. When the call ended, she said she wanted to talk again. I said I would like that. Then she hung up, and I sat in the quiet apartment, feeling something I had not felt in years. Purpose. Over the next month, we spoke 3 more times. Each call was longer than the last. She asked careful questions, testing the ground. I answered honestly, but I did not volunteer anger. I did not criticize her mother. I wanted Emma to come to her own conclusions. I wanted her to have the information and make her own choice. On the 4th call, she told me her mother had noticed. Emma had left her phone unlocked, and my number was in the call log. Her mother had asked who I was. Emma had told her the truth. There had been a fight. Emma's voice was tight when she described it, controlled but fragile. Her mother had said I was dangerous, that I had abandoned them, that Emma was betraying the family by talking to me. Emma had cried. Then she had locked herself in her room and called me. I just want to know the truth, she said. I'm tired of people lying. I understand. Can you prove you didn't leave? Like, do you have anything that shows you tried to stay in touch? I thought about the drawer in my desk, the stack of birthday cards, the printed emails, the letters I had written but never sent because my daughter had blocked me on every platform. Yes, I said. I have proof. Can I see it? If your mother agrees, yes, but I won't go behind her back. You're her daughter. I respect that. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said, what if she never agrees? Then we keep talking like this. And when you're older, if you still want to know more, I'll tell you everything. She exhaled. Okay. After that call, I pulled the drawer open and looked at the evidence of years. Cards in envelopes, never opened. Emails marked undeliverable. I had kept them all, not because I expected to need them, but because letting them go felt like giving up. Now they had a purpose. I scanned them, organized them by date, and saved them in a folder. Then I waited. 2 weeks later, I received an email from my daughter. The subject line was empty. The body was 4 sentences. Emma told me you've been talking. I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to stop. You gave up the right to be in her life. Stay away from my family. I read it twice, then I wrote back. My response was calm and factual. I attached the scanned documents. I did not argue. I simply said, I never stopped trying. Emma reached out to me. I won't turn her away, but I won't fight you either. She deserves to decide for herself. I did not expect a reply. I did not get one. But 3 days later, Emma called. Her voice was different, stronger. My mom showed me the emails, the ones you sent her. She tried to say they didn't matter, but they're all there. Every birthday, every Christmas, every time she told me you didn't care, you were trying to reach her. I said nothing. I let her work through it. She lied to me my whole life, and Brett, he was part of it. He told her to block you. He said it was better if I didn't know. Brett, my daughter's husband, the man who had rewritten the narrative. I had never met him, but I knew him now. I knew the shape of him, the need for control, the discomfort with complexity. What are you going to do? I asked. I don't know, but I'm not going to pretend anymore. We agreed to meet in person. Emma suggested a park halfway between her town and mine. I arrived early and sat on a bench near the playground. The day was cool, the sky pale. I watched children run and shout, their voices high and fearless. Then I saw her. She was taller than I expected, her hair dark like my daughter's, her walk purposeful. She saw me and waved. I stood. Hi, she said. Hi, Emma. We sat. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she pulled out her phone and showed me a picture. It was the photo from the documentary, the one she had sent in the first email. I printed this, she said. I'm going to put it in my room. I looked at the image. My younger self. My daughter, smiling. Thank you, I said. We talked for an hour. She asked about her mother's childhood. I told her stories, small ones, nothing that weaponized the past. I told her about the time my daughter won a science fair, about the summer we spent camping, about the way she used to fall asleep in the car on long drives. Emma listened, hungry for pieces of a history she had been denied. When we finally stood to leave, she hugged me. It was brief and awkward and perfect. A month later, my daughter called. Her voice was tight, controlled. You're making this very difficult. I'm not trying to make anything difficult. I'm just answering Emma's questions. She thinks I'm a liar now. You lied to her. Silence. Then, it was complicated. It didn't have to be. Brett thought it was better, a clean start. Brett isn't her father, you are, and you let him decide that I didn't exist. Another. Silence. Longer. When she spoke again, her voice was softer, uncertain. I didn't know what else to do. After the divorce, everything was so hard, and then I met him, and he made it simple. He said we didn't need the past, I just wanted things to be easy. They're not easy now. No. I waited. The silence stretched, and I let it. Finally, she said, I don't know how to fix this. Tell Emma the truth, all of it. Let her be angry if she needs to be, and stop pretending I don't exist. What if she hates me? She won't, but she might not trust you for a while. That's the cost. She was crying. I heard it in her breath, the small catch in her voice. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry. I closed my eyes. The apology should have felt like victory. It felt like grief. I know. The months that followed were not clean. My daughter began therapy. Emma spent more time with me, carefully negotiating visits with her mother. Brett resisted, but he was not the center anymore. His control had depended on the erasure, and the erasure was over. By the time Emma's 15th birthday arrived, I was invited to the party. I stood in the backyard of my daughter's house, holding a glass of water, watching Emma laugh with her friends. My daughter approached, cautious, her face older than I remembered. Thank you for coming, she said. Of course. She looked at me, then away. I put your picture back, in the hallway, the one from Oregon. I nodded. Emma told me. I should have done it years ago. Yes. She flinched, but she did not walk away. I know you'll never forgive me. I didn't say that. She looked at me again, her eyes wet. What do you want from me? Just this. Honesty, presence. Let Emma know who I am. That's all I ever wanted. She nodded, wiped her eyes, and walked back toward the house. I stayed where I was, watching my granddaughter. She caught my eye and smiled, a quick, bright thing that made the years collapse. I smiled back. It was not closure. It was not redemption. It was simply the truth, reassembled and set in plain sight. where it should have been all along. Later, when the party ended and the guests left, Emma found me by the fence. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I am." "Good." She leaned against the fence, her arms crossed. "I'm glad you're here." "So am I." She was quiet for a moment, looking at the sky. Then she said, "I'm never letting anyone erase you again." I felt the words settle, solid and sure. "Thank you," I said. She nodded and went inside. I stood there a little longer, breathing the cool air, feeling the weight of the day. The hurt was still there. The years were still lost, but the story was no longer a lie. It was complicated and fractured and true, and that, I had learned, was all anyone could ask for. I drove home as the sun set, the road unwinding before me. My phone buzzed once, a message from Emma, just a photo, the one from the documentary, framed and hung on her wall. I smiled and kept driving, the light fading, the way ahead clear enough.